You can cut the music. Round of applause. Thank you guys. You're so cool. Thank you guys. And we are here at another taping of the Plot Twist. I'm Twisted Miyake-Mugler. I'm your host for the Plot Twist. And for this 5th episode, is it 5th? Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, episode number 5. We have some super special guests. And I'm super excited to have them on the show with me today. So let me introduce them from left to right. All right. Well, let me go from right to left because you already know that one. Okay. She was with me on episode number 3. Shout out to my mother, TKO, TravoyInTheFlesh.
Always.
The one and only. Round of applause, round of applause. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for being here.
I was summoned.
Oh, yes, you were. And wait,
you were called upon.
Don't say it like that, first of all. Look what you're talking about.
You were called
I don't summon
Sorry, I was chosen.
anything.
I was chosen.
Whoa.
It's no shame.
I don't summon anything. In Jesus' name. I don't summon anything, okay? But I called my mother and she answered like she always does. Show or not show, just know that my mother's always there for me. So thank you for being here for me again, okay? To my right here, we have from Speaking Out of Turn, the one and only Chris Staxx. Wagwan, man.
My big brother! How you doing, everybody? I'm Staxx Facts. Speaking Out of Turn, Black Status Social Network. Thank you for Plot Twist for having me.
Of course.
I can't wait to get this episode started.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for having me on your show. You know, I only had to return the favor immediately.
Possibly one of our best fucking episodes ever in the world. And on top of that, he brought alcohol. So the next day after, I couldn't work.
Who raised you?
Thank you.
My mother did.
Who raised you?
Thank you.
My mother did. Thank you.
That's awesome.
It was
Thank
you for having me.
Thank you.
And to my left, one of Toronto's best photographers, and I'm not just saying that because she's a friend of mine,
absolutely.
but I'm actually saying that because the work speaks for itself.
Absolutely.
And the reason why I had him today, not just because he's a photographer, but because a lot of his work centers around Black masculinity.
Yeah.
And we have the one and only Jah Grey. Wagwan Jah. Wagwan Jah.
What I said, Jah?
Okay, we're going to have a really laid back conversation and I'll feel a little uptight. It's only because we just started.
No.
But as the conversation goes, it's going to be a lot more relaxed, okay? Trust me, that's how it is with all these tapings. Okay. That's why we have our bottles of water.
Not bottles of water. They're carrying. While y'all are drinking the water.
It's sweeter in this thing, though.
It is. Okay, shout out to this is the first bunch of Plot Twist bottles. So we have our first merchandise. So if you want to actually show support, subscribe first. Because numbers matter in this world that I'm a part of now because I'm trying to do this thing.
Welcome.
So we
doing this thing. Not trying.
Yeah,
not trying. And all the sounds and knocking and stuff like that and the taping is just, oof, what's going on? Right? So, but like not trying to do this thing, but now that we're doing this thing, we have to make sure that we're getting money in to do this thing on a higher and better quality, as we get higher and better and higher and better
Absolutely.
and so on and so on. So to help support,
circulate the black dollar.
Support.
Yeah.
And we want the white dollar, the Asian dollar, and the Spanish dollar. Yes, I want the native dollar. I want all the dollars. Okay? Just
Canadian,
support.
US.
Support your girl.
All
okay?
dollars matter.
But as I just said just now, I just realized that with talking about Jah and the work that he does, the conversation today is going to be about Black masculinity. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Black
masculinity. Black masculinity.
I feel like I just vomited that word out. Black masculinity. And we're going to talk about it from a few lenses. Well, not really a few. Actually, a few lessons because we come from 4 different backgrounds. We're 4 different kind of guys in front of you. But we're all Black men.
Absolutely.
Right?
That
so we
part.
can all have a conversation about this.
Minority Report.
What's good? Black men to the front. Black masculinity panel begins now. All right. So, what is Black masculinity? What is masculinity to you? There is a Webster's definition, which is obviously attached to the male genetic and species and blah blah blah. But when we define and discuss masculinity in society, we don't actually talk about that. We talk about it on societal terms because we know that gender is the construct and blah, 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 right? So therefore, the society defines what masculinity is.
Yes.
Right or wrong?
Fact.
Sadly.
Sadly, you agree? Okay.
I think it's sadly.
We agree, but it's
Okay,
sad.
so then
Yes.
from what you guys have observed in society then, what would you guys say the definition of Black masculinity is?
I think a lot of the time, Black masculinity is attached to like 1, providing, 2, sex, and 3, like appearance. I think that could fall under sex as well. But I think that like a lot of the time, us as black men get like pigeonholed into those 3 sections of black masculinity, and it's never about deeper things. You
And
know what I mean?
strength, too.
And strength.
Yeah.
I seen a video of a white girl talking, and a black girl asked her like, "What do you love about black men?" And the first thing that came out of her mouth was, "Oh, they're sexy," and it was nothing else other than that. And I think that's society's version of black masculinity.
It's a sad one, man.
When you say sex, and you said appearance, do you mean like in terms of I guess desirability politics, like where our aesthetic is essentially just about sexuality, or
how big the dick is,
Right,
what you can do with the dick.
Okay,
You know what I'm saying? How you handle the sex,
got it.
basically.
How you handle the thing.
How you angle it.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
that's,
shout out to the guys with
That's
big
an
dicks.
important thing, but
Big dicks matter.
And,
I'm just saying. I thought that aside,
sorry.
I think yes, everything that was just said. I second that. I think that there's also the aspect of different masculinities. I think we're at a place where we have. Now I don't say evolved. That's giving us too much credit. No shade. Because niggas still ain't shit.
It's no shade.
I don't even believe that. But anyway, go ahead.
Because niggas are shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Key.
What's wrong with this guy?
Beating them girls, it's fine. So I think that it's important that we acknowledge that masculinity does not look. It's not like a monolithic type thing. It looks different to many different people, and because it is a construct, it definitely is performed differently by different people.
I believe
And
that.
at different times and stuff like that, because masculinity back in the day might not look the same as masculinity today.
That's a fact.
Right?
Yeah.
If you think about it. But I actually still do think that it goes back to those 3 things. It's just that those 3 things might look different now, right, than it looked like back then. But it still was centered around like ego, which is like strength and sex and all these things.
Same shit.
And same bullshit kind of thing, right? But
I think there's so many things that I think about. When we think about society. What society are we talking about? Are we talking about the black community, or are we talking about white folks? Because our masculinity looks
Completely different.
completely different. Like for me,
I was
think
served just
in
now.
the-
I was served.
the black.
Heard
Because
that.
you
I
ate
think,
that. You
I
ate
think in
that.
the black community, like all the things that you guys already mentioned are totally, I agree with that. I think the biggest thing, even going back to what you said of niggas ain't shit, is that the protection part is really big in the black community for black men. Not just providing now. Because I think back in the day, the providing aspect of the whole thing was, men are the breadwinners and women stay home and all that stuff. Now things are a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I feel like what I hear is that black men aren't protecting black women.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, not to cut you,
No.
but back in the day, women worked as well.
Yeah, they worked.
because
Yes.
and they worked a lot.
They didn't get a lot of credit for the work
they
they
worked
did.
a lot.
And also,
Rosa Parks was
and
tired,
also,
guys.
but also,
Yeah.
but it
tired.
also wasn't enough to like win bread back in the day, right? There was so much inequality back then on another level where
Indeed.
no matter what a woman was doing, it was never really able to really provide for people. Like
Well, they
that,
wanted to keep them
Enough,
in that
providing
place.
enough.
Exactly, and it was, of course, it was set up like that, of course. But let's just be honest, the society literally set it up where it was like that,
Yes.
where men had to do the providing because men were the only ones that were able to access jobs that could pay enough to take care of people.
Go out in the field and get some
right. So that's how it was. But today, I like how you where I guess when you had mentioned the whole thing about gender and the monolith stuff like that, and I was thinking about the different times, right? I find that masculinity today is, I guess,
sure.
huh?
A puppet show.
What do you mean by that? Because I was actually going to say that it might be
and for the people
the
that don't understand,
masculinity,
explain what
masculinity. I would hope they understand Papi Shaw, but masculinity
If they're
today
watching this.
is bending its wrist
Yes,
almost.
indeed.
Right?
So-
I would almost feel like that, but then there is like where people are trying to reinforce the old type of masculinity. And that is where we're seeing toxic masculinity in play, because people are trying to reinforce the old ideologies of masculinity. But the fact that society is on a bigger scale, maybe, or is it a smaller scale? And which society am I talking about again? Because that's why, like, now when I say society now, I feel so served. Like, you actually really got me to check, like, what society am I talking about when I say society, right? Because I feel like...
But also, I was going to say, like, when we talk about masculinity and what you said, is that there's not one way, but also we have to really, like, be honest with ourselves that a lot of the masculinity that we are... like embodying is like very white and patriarchal. It's not for us black people.
I was just about to say a lot of.
What do you mean? What do you mean? And I want to I want to dig that because I feel like
hold on before
we reinforce and want and desire the kind of masculinity.
I don't feel like it's an intentional desire. I think it's just something that we've learned
I
to
think
to survive as black men today.
Everything in terms of relationships, in terms of finance, in terms of everything. I think us as black people follow what we see. I think society, social media, and surroundings have taught us how to be masculine, and it's not real.
Well, we have to play the game.
But masculinity also is not real.
I don't believe in playing the game.
The whole, like, from the door, masculinity.
I don't believe in playing the game, and I never will.
And that is why I was like, yeah, masculinity is what I say it is because I'm not doing it the way you want me to do it.
Yep.
I'm not concerned with the gays, no offense, of the whites. So the only society that I know of and care for and live in is the black one.
Yeah.
So for me, I love the fact that you mentioned them because someone always does. But I love the fact that you said that because now I can say, no, I'm not really concerned about
that.
I'm not.
Yeah.
When they need me, because they do. They'll cut the check and I'll show up and I'm going back to being black.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, because I 100% firmly believe that a lot of men don't even know how to be men. Outside of what they are taught by all of these things. You understand what I'm saying? And then on top of that, like
it's so interesting.
And then on top of that, black people reinforce a lot of the fuckery. Yeah. So now we're just stuck because we're like, we gotta make a certain type of money. We gotta fuck a certain way. We gotta wear a certain type of clothes. We gotta look like this.
And we have to be seen in a certain kind of way too.
Right.
Because there was something that I saw today that actually like, and I guess I'm jumping a little bit because this is something I want to talk about a little bit later. But you just mentioned something, and it brought me back to a Twitter video that you had sent to me. Sorry, we were talking about it, but it was actually something I seen earlier when there was a group of black men together, right? And they were going to go to an LCBO. Not an LCBO, oh my God, it was in Ontario.
They had the liquor store.
They were going to the liquor store, and there was a woman that just left work, apparently, trying to go buy a bottle of wine, right? Of course, they're in the liquor store with them. That's not something to watch, right?
It's not
and so she went, I guess, like in the surveillance camera, you can see she went in the store first, and then they came in behind her. And this is like, I want to say four of them, and 4 in the store. There was a couple more outside. Okay? So they came in. I guess they're trying to offer to buy the liquor for her. She's declined and decided to walk up.
Let's politely decline.
Even if it was sassily.
Even if
she declined.
Even if she sassily,
it was polite.
You mind your fucking business. I left the girl alone.
Right, and she said no. You offered. She heard you. She said no. Whatever.
She said no.
But
thank
the
you.
group mentality, right? There was something that was reinforced within that group where they were not seen as whatever society has told us that we need to be seen as. That's what I mean. Like there was some kind of
disconnect
trigger, right? That happened, or a disconnect, right? Between like, okay, you see. Where these group of guys, we're trying to offer you to buy you something to take a little load off of you, but you feel too nice on us. So what they did is actually physically attacked her, like for real, like
outside,
for real, like they kicked her in her head,
bit her
somebody bit her eyebrow, try to bite her eye out. And everything, like that kind of level of extremity.
Just remind us again.
That is what I'm saying now. This is why I have to go back to like go back and ask, I guess, of if we're saying that this is the kind of masculinity that we're being taught to reinforce and to portray, right? Then
who's watching?
What the fuck, right? Like, what? It's not even a who's watching. It's a real what the fuck. Are you really going to allow yourself to fall or allow ourselves to fall for this kind of masculinity, right? Is this what masculinity actually is?
But this is why I found myself outside of hanging with too many men. because
Because
in all of
it's
these
a man thing.
in these circles of men,
Masculinity.
there's a lot of masculine energy, but there's no leadership energy.
That masculine energy is called ego.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
But there's good ego.
and
There is.
and I want to be the first person to say, I used to be a part of the thought process.
Right. I
I
mean,
used to be a nigga that used to think if a girl says no to you, you know what I'm saying, you say something back disrespectful to her.
I'm from
I
Jane
used
and
to be
Finch. I'm from Jane and Finch. I seen it every day. It used to be a key to us too, actually.
Right.
Like, I remember, like, how dare you, the girl? They would done the girls.
But after a while, you start to pay attention to how unsafe people feel, and this is like
You make them feel.
right.
Yeah.
that's a big
Ownership.
one.
Take that ownership.
How
You
unsafe-
make them
Accountability,
feel.
How unsafe us as
Yeah.
problematic niggas
Fuck.
make people feel.
But yo, I want to really chime in on this too and say, yo, it's not just a man thing. As a trans guy, of only being a guy for 8 years, I was a part of that. And I didn't learn that as a cis man. I learned that in my in my body as a woman, a black woman, and how like my trauma showed up in that masculine energy.
Right.
That's what makes it toxic or unhealthy masculinity, is how your trauma shows up
Shows
in
up.
that. And masculinity itself, we already know
It's
where that
trauma.
goes. Yeah, it's trauma.
So you think that is trauma reinforced,
And the
or
thing is
projection,
trauma, but
essentially,
it's,
projected trauma?
it's trauma projecting through like the masculinity. What we're taught masculine energy is, it just amplifies it more.
Right.
You know,
Especially when we're all together.
yeah.
I was about to. I was
And
literally-
nobody- and nobody's telling nobody, like,
I was literally
cut
about to
fucking-
ask that. Then, is there really examples of black males in large numbers that don't end up toxic, or like, is there a way? I'm not trying to. I'm asking. I'm actually asking, like, literally
I don't
right
know.
now, because then if it's a number thing, because and it's a thing where we have to like, where essentially we cannot be properly masculine without women around. Is that essentially what's happening?
Well, see, I love how
Because-
I love how you juxtaposition that. What you did was you removed the women from the conversation. So it's like, are we like this without?
Yes.
As opposed to, are we like this because of? Like in response. I 100% believe that yes, we can in groups be not toxic.
Of course.
I think
Of course we can
Once
be.
we unlearn all the toxic things and the toxic traits and deal with our deal with our traumas and deal with our own issues outside of them, just like we remove them, then we can stand as a man, period, and not worry about those things. So when we're all aligned in that way and our, like, I guess our conscience has been raised, then we're not concerned. It's like when Jay-Z and Diddy and they're all there, they're worried, they're toasting life because they have money. Right? Like they're not worried about being toxic because we all have money.
Yeah.
We're all together. We're all equal. They're not worried about beating up on girls. Like
To piggyback off of what you're saying, I 100% believe it. And I think like one of the biggest parts about it is you have to want to stop fuckery. It's not just one thing to be like, okay, I'm gonna get help, and you're just gonna fucking keep saying the shit. You actually have to want to stop it, because I believe that ego is like ego
have to want
is one
to
of the
stop
most
it?
dangerous drugs.
You have to want to
Can
stop
be.
Yeah.
Can be.
because my ego's big.
Because I don't
My
see,
ego's
like, to me,
huge.
like, I don't really think that ego is bad.
No.
Right? And
doesn't
it's
have
like
to
I said, it's
It's
just
just like-
about
it's-
about how you, I guess,
Use it.
how your ego's shown and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and how big it gets and stuff like that. But I don't think that ego is actually in itself bad. But what I'm led to ask is then, what is a man without, like, what is a man? Like, what's the
Without
definition?
masculinity?
What is the definition of a man without toxic? Like, what is the definition of a man? Let's remove, like, all the toxic stuff like that.
Healthy.
And what is a man
Yo, go
supposed to be?
I'm listening to what you guys are saying, and I have to just chime in and kind of question, how come you guys are not touching on insecurity?
I'm ready for.
I feel like that's a big part of a male's toxicity, him being insecure.
Yeah, and that's ego related.
Well,
Yes and no.
yes and no.
I
because I'm taking the ego away
can't.
from
Right.
from the insecurity, and I'm saying, like, being a male in society is hard, and you guys have a lot of judgment on you, and there's a way that they expect you to be every day, especially as a black male.
Right.
So I feel like it's not so much your ego, but it's very hard to live up to that, and it makes you insecure and it makes you feel less than.
Listen,
Right. Now that, and then you want to overdo it and like
Overcompensate, yes.
overcompensate.
I
Now you
don't-
ate that. I can see that.
I don't even mean to interrupt anybody, but that is the biggest fact.
We were just talking about-
We're just talking about it. I overwork every day. I get up at 3. I leave my girl in the bed every day at 3:00 in the morning and overwork all day because in my mind I've been taught by white people that if you don't put in, you ain't shit.
You ain't shit.
I taught by the Jamaican family that if you're not walk, you walk less.
Right, and if you
You know
don't
what I'm
get
saying?
out,
If you
then it's
don't-
also
you know
not.
what I'm saying?
And if you're not getting out, then what are you actually doing too? Right, because there's no actual value in the things that we do if there's no
become dead
dollar
bodies.
attached to it.
I
And that's so
remember
fucked up.
I just
That's
went to go
fucked
see
up.
my grandma. My mom was
Very
there,
fucked up.
and she was like, "How are you doing?" And I looked at her. I'm like, honestly, I'm tired. All I do is work.
Look at
And
you.
she's like, oh, and she just mentioned one thing. She's like, "Oh, that's," and I'm like, "Nigga, is you crazy? Like, all I do is fucking work." You know what I'm saying? Just because I don't get up every day and go work at a factory for 6 hours or 7, 8 hours a day,
Any hours. Ew.
you know what I'm saying? Doesn't mean I don't work my ass off.
Right.
So, and when I'm working, that's the only thing I'm thinking in my mind is how much things are stacked against me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want my girl to look at me like a waste man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I would never want her to think I'm a waste because shit ain't working out, even though I'm working. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, I don't
Right.
even have that thought process as a guy, because I didn't grow up in that shit.
In that shit.
I just didn't. So I don't have that process of like, yo, if I'm not working, I'm what list to my girl. Like I'm not here. For me, I wasn't raised to provide. I was raised to be provided for.
Right.
Right. And so,
I've never heard that. That's crazy.
so for me, I think like, you know, I think transition to also, it was like a culture shock.
Yeah.
Of like, whoa, like everything that was grounded is not grounded anymore. Like if I'm not doing X, Y, and Z, then I look like a bum now.
Yeah.
You know?
Ah.
But also I still don't have it's like the elders, let's say, or people who are older than me still don't hold me to that standard like they do to cis men to provide.
Right.
They don't look at me like that. They're just like, oh, you're doing your career, cool. If you need anything, you know, and you have something to come back to, don't
Yeah.
worry. Like
It's
you shouldn't
no
be
shade.
you shouldn't be doing blah 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 blah, you know. So it's really interesting for me to sit here as a black man to hear other black men say these things, because these are not things that I know of.
Right.
And even
Right, but then
Wait,
so what? Because hold on, I have not about like directly like to that though. When you're like on your transition though, when you're because you're studying masculinity, like
Yeah.
I know that trans women, because I really know the girls kind of thing. I know that they study femininity to the T, like, and I almost want to say to the toxic
yes,
to the toxic feminine parts of
Yes.
it, right? When you're studying masculinity, you don't feel like you're studying the toxicity though,
Oh,
or
yes,
like
hell yes.
emulating it.
yes,
So
I
then,
did.
so that's the
And I was
culture shock.
okay with it. I was
Right, that's what you
fine
said.
with it because that studying that and being a part of that.
Right, because
made
you're
me
automatically accepted
accepted.
into it. Right.
I was
right.
accepted. I was loved.
Studying, just
And that's
Yeah.
the realness too. That's
Yeah.
realness for you.
Like you know,
'Cause if you
it
weren't real.
allowed me to live and survive and be safe, having that around me. And I think,
Safety is
you know, yeah, I think maybe like, you know,
It's no shade.
after a really not so great relationship, that's what actually woke me up to being like, yo, nah,
Yeah.
like this is not. That's when I started to realize, even going back to what you said, of like, whoa, I'm somebody that can cause harm and cause fear.
Yeah.
That's not something that I ever
one thought they imagined.
no,
Right, like you
because,
thought you could be, right,
you know,
right.
like yeah, navigating my life as a woman, I'm not being taught that I'm being feared.
Yeah.
Someone's being fearful of me.
Yeah.
So being in this body and realizing, wow, now I'm somebody that
Sounds like
incites
you
fear.
can be, sounds like you can be a little intimidating.
Good catch.
Yeah.
Sounds like you can be intimidating.
So, don't encourage
Welcome
me.
to being a black man for real though, because that
Yeah.
is it. It's like you literally walk into a room.
I have to be
And
intentional.
people are, honey.
I have to be really.
word.
You don't
I have
think-
to be intentional.
You think you're wearing this tight shirt for no reason? You think I'm gonna bring this collar, like this turtleneck for no reason? I'm very,
Yeah.
very conscious about like how I present my deep voice and all these things.
Yeah.
And I get like, when you guys see me like acting cunt, especially, it's really because like I know that if I don't do this, I'm gonna be seen angry. Or this or that. Like I actually have to be the over the top twisted, or else people are not really. I'm not like, whether it's a good thing or not.
No,
like I'm not saying
I'm
that.
not
It's something that I've learned.
I'm gonna say something
I guess
short.
it's a part of the performance because at the end of the day, like there is a performance to this, right? But I've learned that, and I've learned how to, like you said, navigate and know that sometimes I'm okay with being feared because if I'm putting on the realness hat first, then I don't mind instilling the fear in people because they don't want you to see me and see the toxic nigga. Yeah. I know that's like that is
the fucked up thing about me is I grew my hair out of for fear. I want to make white people uncomfortable.
Right.
I grew my hair because I like making white people uncomfortable.
Okay.
I'm aware of my power.
I cut my locks because of the masculinity piece. Like, and what that made me feel in my body. Like,
I feel that.
And also, like, just like being a trans guy too, it's like, yo, it's almost like my masculinity needs to be more amplified. It has to be more intense to even prove to be accepted as a guy. First, before anything else. So I feel like it's easy for trans guys specifically to dive into that toxic world and feel totally okay with it. Because when I was in it, I was okay with it. I was okay with it until I started seeing that I was like hurting people around me. You know, but that was like the wake up for me of like, yo, let me do something totally different. And even like that question that you asked about what being a man looks like for me, it looks like keeping my head down, doing what I'm intended to do, what I need to do, follow my goals, blah, 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 and get my shit together. Not for anybody, not to be a provider for anyone specifically, but for myself. Only.
Okay. There's a lot. Okay, so
this is over.
I think that when I turned, when
the first question,
when my stepdad dragged me out of the closet, he
dragged you.
What do you mean by that, by the way?
My stepdad, he had basically he asked me if I was gay. I said yes. I don't know why. It just came out of my mouth. And
Sassy.
From the time I told him, I've actually never really had to tell anyone that I was gay because he went on a crusade to tell everyone.
He told everybody.
So I didn't have the experience of coming out. He sort of just did it for me. So the one thing that one of the things that I got from that was this fear that my mother was going to stop loving me and like our relationship was going to change and I'm an only child and I'm spoiled and I get everything from my mom. So now that now that I think that she's going to disown me, what am I going to do? That fear became so crippling to me that I had to like literally let it go because it was going to consume me and I couldn't afford at that time to be consumed because I was still, I was at the beginning stage of like TravoyInTheFlesh. It was like a Hustle Monroe time. Like I was on my trajectory was very, very J-Lo, right?
Yo,
because obviously I had to change over to Beyonce.
I'm
getting it right. Now I can say that, but yeah. So for me, I had to let that go. And what letting go of that did, I had to like unlearn everything I thought I knew and everything that I did know. Religion, actually, essentially all the systems that are around us, religion, understanding of my health, like in terms of like using drugs, blah blah blah, like what love means, like what doesn't love mean, like when people like jealousy, like all these things, I had to like not know them and relearn them, right? And I had to relearn them for myself because what happens is we tend to like we do things for other people. In the name of other people, because of other people, not for ourselves. And now, where I'm at, long story short, for me, everything I do starts with me. Like the decision is mine. It's going to affect me first. Therefore, it doesn't matter what happens after that first. And then once I get a hold of how it will affect me, then I can the impact. So me growing my hair at one point, it was because I wanted to be more feminine. Because I was not masculine enough body-wise, so I guess I was trying to complete the aesthetic essentially because it would soften me
like a performance.
We're getting there, like a performance. Incidentally, this is also the time when I started to do drag, but I went through that phase, and I call it a phase not because it's something that I don't do, I can't do. I'm an awesome performer, obviously, but for me, I just don't take it seriously enough, so why bother? But that in itself is literally the part that's important. I hate performing. If there's no check involved, especially now that I know that I can get checks, I'm not performing for nothing, for nobody, for free. So when I wake up, my masculinity might look like this today, but it might not look like this tomorrow. Or it might not look like this 20 minutes from now, because when I pull my hair out and I slick, I'm not concerned with anybody because anybody and everybody's not paying me. I have to pay these bills. I have to make shit work. So the gaze that like
whatever you do to pay the bills is your masculinity. Essentially, because I was gonna say that
where masculinity would present itself,
right?
Because even as you said, like the shirt, the suit, like it matters. Yes, it does. Because I know that when I go out, these people are expecting, but that's what they pay for. they're paying for this, so they will get this.
Right.
But I don't care about these things.
Yeah.
They will
Because
definitely get what they pay for.
Yeah, that's why, because I want
I
you to
live
pay me
it.
again, right?
My
But
favorite world.
for you, my life is worth this. But when I wake up, it's still my life.
Yeah.
So I don't have time to separate the gays because it's irrelevant to me. I'm, as I said earlier on, I'm not living anymore, guys. Like I'm just existing. That's it. I wake up and I go. I do, because anything beyond that is going to just blur the lines. Like it doesn't matter if I'm in a white community or a black community. I'm still a black man, and how you view me is not.
That's your fucking business.
That's you.
That's your
You know what I'm
fucking
saying?
business.
So it's hard sometimes to listen to, and I'm not reading anybody, but it's hard sometimes to listen to people talk about all the things outside of them that really, really don't
Fucking matter. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if we believe in God, then it's only you and God that has that conversation.
That's
if
a
you
fact.
don't, your ancestors aren't telling you to worry about white people. I promise you, they're not. And if the universe is guiding you, they're not. It's not guiding you to unhappiness. It's just not, unless you're putting that out there. So
No,
we
it
have to
takes
take
a-
more
it's-
responsibility and hold ourselves accountable for the decisions and actions we make. Because at the end of the day, we're essentially just lying to ourselves.
Every single day.
Every day.
Every single
Every day
day.
we wake up and
Us
we're lying
as-
to ourselves because of other people.
Yeah.
Us as-
Which makes it even
and the
worse.
performances.
Every
yeah, all of
single
this
day,
a lie.
us as black men get up and just lie to ourselves, and then we turn the lies to other people and just lie and just fake and just perform. And
For who?
I'm only able to
For
say
the check.
because-
Not
When the
for
check
who.
comes, when the check
Not
comes,
for who.
and
But
then
yeah,
the check-
it's not always fine.
Yeah.
No, it's not always
Okay,
fine.
fine.
It's like
All money and
it's
good
not
money.
always
Yeah,
fine.
all money and
Exactly.
good money.
Exactly.
All money and good money. You're
Yes.
right. You're right.
But I'm just saying, like, people do it for that too, right?
Indeed.
Whatever.
Because again, it's easy to perform being black, isn't it? Like, I mean, we see Asians do it, we see white people do it. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I mean, if they're doing it, so like, it's not that deep. It can't be.
Yeah.
It can't be.
Yeah, every day, because I'm only able to speak on it because I promise you, like, I'm 36 now, and
Oh,
like,
wow.
yeah, I'm 36, and I've spent. He's known me for a long time, so he's known me through all my phases. I'm lying. He hasn't known me for a long time. He's probably known me all my life. So I can't say that. He's my brother for real. So I went through all phases. I went to church with him. And even when I was in church, I was in the street
Wildin'.
but still pretending because I'm around gangsters and I'm
That's
like, bro,
where
this
we
ain't my
learn to do
life.
it.
Right.
This is not my real life. Like I'm not. Even when they were doing crime, I was like, I'm not. I'm not doing none of that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
I'm
just through all my life, I was pretending. I was a pimp, and I was pretending. I didn't want to do none of that shit. I just wanted money, but it was the only thing I knew how to do was pretend.